It's John Outsider here. Usually I do comedies, and this is another comedy because Hong Kong kitchens are too low, so you gotta bend down too much. It's good for Asian people. For us, it's a little difficult. And this thing that in most of the old houses they have makes the kitchen impossible to work a lot around it. Like the washing machine just have to be too top, or sometimes you have to put it outside. That runs the machine. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make this kitchen a little better with less cost, and I'm not gonna use very expensive material or very expensive tools. Just we're gonna make it somehow workable kitchen. Okay. This cement stuff that they made has a little connection to the wall, but is well connected inside. This cement and some metal. So either you can use the cutter machine. If you're using cutter machine, make sure you got a mask and you got like protection for the eye, and then you got airflow that we put fan here to take the air out, because you're gonna make a lot of dust. And then at the place that you want, you have to make some cut. This is bigger than the stone, but can cut from the down and top, or cut in 2 layers and then go more deep. Or if you don't have the machine, you can use the hammer, but you gotta have gloves and go little by little to the end. It's gonna take more time and energy, but less dust. So we're gonna start doing that. Make sure everything around is clean. The next step is to make the structure and the wood part. And before you put the wood in the work, you better do varnish. We got like some different products in Hong Kong. You mix it with fuel and make sure that this gets soaked wet. It helps to prevent the humidity to ruin the wood, and prevents a lot of insects to just build. And if it gets moldy, it's easier to wash or bleach it out. So this is the next step. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is to build a structure, and we got like some wood that I first put, and then I make sure to level it in a way that a little this side is higher, the water goes to the end and then drops in the sink. So a little this side higher in your measurements put. So I did varnish all the woods to make sure that they live longer. The next thing that I'm gonna do is to put this to the wall. I'm gonna drill here, drill to the wall, stick to the wall. The rest will have legs outside, and with the legs will be standing. And then I will connect this, and we'll put the next piece on the top. this part, we made a little edge on the surface that holds the wood. This is a better way to hold the wood. And for the legs also, if necessary, we can make edge if we have enough space. But if we don't have enough space on it, for the surface, without making edge, just put the wood on it and make trail, and then screw on it to hold it very strong. All right, we need to make hole for the sink and for stove that I'm using the cutter, but there are other ways if you don't have this tool to cut a hole in the middle of the wood. So we attach the frame. As you see, the frames is back on. I didn't put this leg because based on the size of the door, you might change the door. So sometimes the doors are wider or shorter, so this can move around, or you might need to add another leg to the table based on the door size that you have. If you are not making the door and ordering, if you are making the door, then you put in the middle and then make the measurements and make the door. It's a little difficult. I usually order just from IKEA. It's cheap and convenient. And but to set the wood part together, you better make a little drill, then screw in, because this wood might get cracked. So before screwing the two sides together, that I managed, like this goes on the leg. So you make a little drill, then you put the screw in. You make a little drill and then you put in. Then you go to the kind of top part of the table. So I measured, and then I asked the carpenter to cut. They cut, then we did the varnish. So you ask them to cut, then you cut the sink part. If you have a stove, you gotta cut the stove part as well. Do a little varnish around it, make sure that the water will not damage it. Then for sink, I made a little corner down. That sink goes a little in. That helps the water goes inside the sink, doesn't stay around the sink. And so after this, we're just gonna set the sink on, make these two tables connected to each other. You make sure you make screws that is shorter, that comes from the bottom until the middle, to not damage the surface. And we gotta put a lot of silicones around the table and around the sink to make sure that we are protecting from the water damage, and then it will be almost done. Okay, can I stop here? Made the base, and then we made the hole to put the sink on, and made a hole to put the stove on, and then silicone all around it to make sure the water does not go in. When I was putting the legs, I make sure that okay, this is the size of the door that we have. You gotta make sure what size door you put, that how you adjust the legs. If you are making the doors, so then you can have different sort of legs. But I bought the doors from IKEA. I don't have the good tools to make it really precise. That's why I bought from IKEA. But if you have tools that you can cut very precise and make the hole, which needs another tool, a drill and another tool to cut this little that the hinge go in, so then you can make the doors by yourself. How to put is very simple. The hinge that goes in, the head is open, and you put in, and then it gets locked. The good thing is that you can easily take this again out when it's necessary. So when we finish this, then we have to put this part that goes inside, gets locked down inside to the legs. But there are tricks. So if you put it up, down, or a little not in the right place, the door might not fit in, or maybe the door go in but it won't be on one line. So that's a trick that I'm going to show you later, how to make them all even. Okay, to put the hinges in the right place, I made this from the board, from a very simple covered board that is resembling the column they have, the leg that we have. So I'm gonna make this, and then I'm gonna tie it here. Then when I put the door with the hinges here, it will mark down exactly where it goes. Anywhere that I want the door be, then I will press it in. It will make a mark on the paper. Then I can use the same paper on the other columns, and then it will help to do the measurements on the ones. Okay. So the cupboard that we make that resembles the leg and where the hinge goes, we try one leg on it and then mark the holes, make the hole, and with putting that hole on each leg and making the holes, it's easier to put the small part of the hinge that goes inside the leg. When you put that one, then it's easy, the whole door and hinge just locks down automatically. Later on you can adjust, because there are two screws on each hinge, that you can adjust the door to come a little front and back and up and down, and then make doors on similar line to look pretty as possible. This is the finished work. So like the door opens and then closes easily. So it needs a little adjustment to make the door up and down, and kind of that's all the work. So for refugees, asylum seekers, and many other Hong Kongers that they don't have enough income, going to IKEA costs a lot. Like something like this, probably $10,000 gonna cost them to have 2 drawers, and gonna take few days. But if you have simple tools, you can do this by yourself. If you make the door, maybe not be exactly as fit, but still will be this pretty. This will give you a little space for cooking and working on it, and cleaning, and will give you more storage. So for people who do not have much money, they can build something by themselves, probably by $2,000-3,000, or even less if they find the material thrown out somewhere, and they can make a better use out of their kitchen. Yeah, that's it.